It is KJ, the KJ Today Show with Aasif Mandvi. Yes, Ben the Magnificent also does not want evil to come to an end. What can we do about it? Let's talk to Aasif and find out.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, I am delighted to be speaking with you this morning, but I am not happy about what we're talking about, Aasif.
I'm sorry. I take all the blame.
How could you? You're Ben the Magnificent. How could you be ending the show?
I know. I tried to fix it. I tried to fix it. Yeah. No, we're all very disappointed. It is one of those things where I feel like we're at the height of our success in a way, and the Kings want to make more. The cast wants to make more. But the executives at Paramount, in their infinite idiocracy, have decided that you can't keep a hit show going. So that's hit
secret to
shows are not
success.
what we want. We don't want hit shows. We don't want successful shows. Why would we want that?
What is this thing that everybody seems to be watching? Take it away.
I know. Everybody wants to watch it. Wait, hang on a second. Wait, I think we've got this backwards. Wait, no wonder Netflix is kicking our ass. Yeah, but we're hoping. We live in hope that maybe somebody else will, with more wisdom, will take on the show, and maybe there is a life after an evil part two.
Yes. Yeah. So, I reached out and it was like, hey, we're having Asif on. What do you want to talk about? And that was literally everyone was like,
Yeah.
how do we mobilize and save evil?
Yeah, I know. I'm encouraging people to call whoever they need to call, the congressperson, I don't know, the weatherman, like whoever it is, just call whoever it is. Maybe it can be for part of the DNC platform. I don't know. Or write to Paramount.
Right to Paramount. So what's interesting about this, Asif, and I was thinking about it this morning as we were getting ready to talk, is that there is some power in the hands of the fans because we've seen some shows that have come back. We saw Lucifer come back, Arrested Development, right? So I mean, we can do this.
We can do this. We can do this. Yeah. I think that it's a worthy campaign. I think that people should write on Instagram, write on Twitter, write on social media, bombard George Cheeks or whoever it is over at Paramount with messages that they want evil to come back, and maybe we can make it happen.
Well, I'm gonna fully admit that I was one of the people who caught onto the show because it ended up on Netflix. So I do, I feel like, and obviously,
Right.
We can sit here and be like, well, if I was in the boardroom making the decisions, I would have waited to see how it does on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, honestly,
sure.
that was part of it because there are so many people. It feels like there's been a great momentum, and I was hesitant to watch it, also because I'm afraid of everything. Like I don't watch anything horror. I don't. People are shocked that I'm watching evil, and I'm like, look, this is such a great show that I will lose sleep over it. It's totally worth it. So it's interesting that we are at a time.
In a good way.
Right, exactly. I know that the finale is tomorrow, but I am not accepting this. So for people who haven't gotten into it yet, like get on board, dude, because this is a movement. Let's talk a little bit about your experience and kind of, what we can control right now, which is to celebrate a wonderful show that you have been a part of. Can you reflect a little bit as on Ben the Magnificent and the role that this show has played in your life, in your career?
Well, I mean, it's been a tremendous role. I mean, and it's been it's been a tremendous experience. Every role brings with it, as an actor knows, every role brings with it challenges, and you don't know how you're going to do it. Initially you're like, well, how am I going to play this guy? But what supports you is the cast, and the writing and the creatives, the people who create the show. And we have such an incredible team on this show. Robert and Michelle King are maybe, I would argue, two of the finest writers in Hollywood making television today, and the most interesting television, The Good Fight, Good Wife, Evil, Elspeth, on and on, and I think that having them at the wheel and then working with people like Katya and Mike and Michael Emerson and Christine Lottie and, the whole Kurt and the whole team, they're such great actors, great guest stars that came on the show, some of the finest New York actors that would pop up on our show. So it was such a great creative experience, and discovering this character with the help of all of these other people, and also just the storylines where the writing was immense, because actors depend on great writing. We can only do so much, and if the writing isn't working, then it's just not going to work on some level. But in this case, you had such tremendous writing. I mean, I would read the scripts and I'd be flipping I'd be up at 2 o'clock in the morning finishing the script, because it was such a page turner. And even for me being on the show, I was excited to know where we were going and stuff. So that's a rare experience to get to have all of that. So I feel like, in a sense of gratitude, I feel like we hit the jackpot and we all got to work on a tremendous show, even though it's ending and we wanted to continue, but we did get 4 amazing seasons.
Yeah. I need to talk to you a little bit about your co-star Mike Coulter, because I'm actually heading out here
Yeah.
in a day or two to PopCon in Louisville, which is a wonderful convention that I work with and I moderate, and he is going to be there. So, you got any scoop for me on Mike? Maybe something from the set that I could bring up that he would look at me and go, "How do you know that?"
See, now you're asking me. And I get paid for this kind of information. You know what I mean?
Give me the tea.
Ask him how many cold plunges he's done today.
Ooh.
Because the man does a cold plunge every day. And it's insane. He's always got some newfangled health thing that he's doing, But one of the things that he does on a regular basis is his daily cold plunge, and then he puts it on Instagram. And Katya and I would have a lot of fun with that, sort of teasing him about the fact that we have to watch him sit in a puddle of cold water, on Instagram.
No,
so ask him about his cold plunge.
Well, and he has had great success and very recognizable for his role as Luke Cage, and kind of shifting over to Marvel a little bit. You also have spent some time in Marvel. You were a part of Spider-Man 2 and Sam Raimi's version of it. Can you talk a little bit about, your experience with that part of Marvel?
Well, it was a lot. I had a small part in Spider-Man 2, which fans seem to love.
Yeah.
And it was really, I was a young actor at the time, and I'd been doing theater, and I'd done a movie with Merchant Ivory, and I was the lead in a Merchant Ivory film and all this stuff, and then I got offered this small part in Spider-Man 2, and initially, not being a Marvel person, or having watched those things, I turned down the role, actually, initially. when I first got the offer, I turned it down because I had just been on Broadway, and I was in a Merchant Ivory film, and I was looking for something a little bit more, and so I didn't want to do it. And then they convinced me to do it, and I changed my mind. I went back and I did the role, and then it's like a role that people still talk to me about. I think we shot it in 2004, so like
Wow.
20 years later, we're still talking about that role. Like people still come up to me, and of course, just because they did the long cut, or whatever the long version, the DVD long version of it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they decided, again, in their infinite idiocracy, decided to change one of my iconic line readings in Spider-Man when I tell the Peter Parker to go, and I did this improvised line, which has become a meme, and it's kind of crazy how it's all sort of become. But then when they made what I thought was hilarious, when they made the long version, the longer cut, they shortened my line to just like a regular go, and I was kind of pissed off about that. So anyway, that was, but it was it was one of those things where they shot that scene in a day, and we just went down to Baker at 6th Avenue and shot there at Joe's Pizza.
I did not see the extended version, and I never will now that I know that. Asif, I want to shift over to a topic that always comes up here. That we just started talking. I didn't even introduce the show that you're on. It's the KJ Today Show. We bring people the positive vibes of pop culture, people to know, and pets. And I'm also the kitty correspondent for Pet Pals TV. So I'm obligated to talk to you about your iconic role in Paws of Fury and your motivation for playing a cat.
Well, I mean, you get offered a role, you get to play an animated cat. You don't say no. It's just one of those things. And it was a lot of fun. And again, I got to work with the very talented Gabriel Iglesias. I got to work with him. We had never worked together before, but we sort of got along like, I guess, the two cats. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And, it was one of those, you just get to sort of play this comic duo, this kind of Laurel and Hardy sort of thing. And it was great.
Were you mostly, isolated? I don't mean isolated like pandemic, but like, were you doing your lines on your own, or did you get any time with Mel Brooks and Ricky Gervais? I mean, it was Samuel L. Jackson. It was such not just as an animal lover that I loved this movie, but it was just such a cool cast. Every voice you knew.
Yeah, it was a cool cast. We didn't really get to work together on that. It was mostly me and Gabriel. We did our lines together.
Well, we've only got a couple minutes left, and so I know we need to talk about the reality that we're living in is that we are getting the series finale of Evil. If we don't get any more Evil, what's ahead for you? How do we keep up with what you're doing next?
Well, right now I'm doing an AMC miniseries starring Dan Stevens. It's called Terror, The Devil in Silver. It's part of AMC's Terror series. So I'm doing that right now, which will be out probably next year, which is another horror genre thing. So you'll have to watch it because I know that's your favorite genre.
Absolutely not.
Anyway, so I'm doing that. and then this fall, if anybody's out in Los Angeles, I'll be at the Geffen Theater with Rainn Wilson from The Office doing Waiting for Godot. So if you're in LA, come check us out.
Very fun. And you're very active on social media as well. Is Instagram your go-to?
Yes, mostly, yeah. These days. It changes all the time, doesn't it? Right now, I feel like Instagram is where I am most of the time.
Yeah, me too. Like there was a couple months ago where I was like, oh, I should go back over on Twitter. I'm in X and just see if everybody's okay over there.
Yeah.
They're not, by the way. They're not okay. Don't go back there.
No, they're not okay. They're not okay.
It has been a joy to talk with you. Aasif, thanks so much for being on the show.
Lovely to talk to you. Thanks.
Best of luck, and hopefully we get more Evil soon and we'll have you back.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Write those letters.
Thanks for joining me for another celebrity interview. KJ Today, where you'll find the positive vibes of pop culture, people to know, and pets. If you like this interview, please make sure you give it a like, rate, review, and subscribe, and join us on YouTube the first Wednesday of every month for the full KJ Today Show, where we play trivia, bring you more celebrity guests, and even a pet of the week to keep you feeling the positive vibes.